All right. Let's talk about Crash Team Rumble. Should you buy it? Should you not buy it? Is Crash Bandicoot dead? No, he's not dead. Oh man, Crash Team Rumble has been the biggest elephant in the Crash Bandicoot community as of recent, just because of how much forced hate, like actual forced hate, that this game is getting. Maybe I'm not looking at it the way others are looking at it, but I know there are quite a few people who are genuinely excited for this, and there are quite a few people who genuinely want to give this game a shot, actually want to play it, actually want to give it a chance. But ever since like the biggest news drop we've had for the game, there have been a multitude of comments just regarding the game whenever it's being advertised, of people going, oh, Crash Bandicoot's dead. It should have been a Crash Bash remake. Why would you want a Crash Bash remake? I don't know. Maybe you like Crash Bash, no hate towards you, but to be honest, a Crash Bash remake would be absolutely horrible. Another thing that I've seen is just people going, oh, but this should have been CTR or Crash Team Racing 2, or this should have been this, or this should have been that remake, or this remake. And it feels like the Crash community as of right now, majority of it is still blinded by nostalgia, and they don't want to see the Crash Bandicoot series grow. Now, I'm not saying that a remake or a remaster of a certain game wouldn't help the series grow. It most certainly would in some capacity. The thing about Crash Bandicoot is he's been reintroduced to the modern audience, and in order for him to survive in this modern audience, he has to break away from the nostalgic chains that these fans have been binding him. And again, there's nothing wrong with wanting another remake for a certain game, or for certain things to be referenced, like Twinsanity, like Bash, like any other Crash Bandicoot game from before. But it's now time for Crash to evolve. It's now time for Crash to move on from his roots and try and be something else. Not saying that, you know, that this is going to be the last Crash Bandicoot game ever, or that Crash Bandicoot 5 isn't going to try and be like what Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time was, but it is time for Crash to start like differentiating himself from different genres, stand out amongst all the other gaming franchises out there. Toys for Bob, according to Canadian Guy A's video, stated that this is not a MOBA. This is an entirely new form of multiplayer game that they want to bring to the gaming industry. It's a 4v4, and it's something that's got a lot of elements from different other multiplayer games, but sort of mixed matched and mashed together into this interestingly weird multiplayer game. And it's something new that they wanted to do, and this is something that they wanted to do with Crash since Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time went into development. As many know, it was known as Wumpa League. And yes, during the development, it was planned to be free to play. But if I remember correctly, a few weeks ago or a month ago or so, there was this like big thing going on in the gaming space where people were noticing that free to play games were performing poorly, and it just sort of started to tick downwards more and more. Like we saw a bunch of games that were really popular in free to play genre just start to like tack down. And I think they really dodged a bullet by putting a price tag to this game. Now, I'm not defending that they shouldn't put a price tag over a solely multiplayer game, but if you think about it, like if you really look at the details, and I have the details right here for both the standard edition and the deluxe edition, and I want to go ahead and clear this out of the way. The game for deluxe is $40 and the game for standard is $30. I've been seeing a lot of people push around the $40 price tag, saying that they won't put 40 towards this game, and they could have easily made this a $60 and $70 game, much like all the other AAA games coming out. Like this could have easily been spiked at 60 to 70 if they really intended to and wanted to do that. But you're still getting the exact same amount of content that you got with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled that launched at $30 and $40. It's still keeping that that price range that we've seen for Crash before. Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is now marked down to at least $40. It released at $60. We got a full price Crash Bandicoot game and they brought it back down. But going over the pricing here, for $30, the standard edition includes closed beta access, premium battle pass unlocked for season 1, the Retro Threads Tana skin, which was mentioned on the website. No one knows what that's going to look like, but that's all you get for standard edition. And in deluxe edition, for $40, you get everything from the standard edition, including the closed beta access. You also get the premium battle passes unlocked for both seasons 1 and 2. You also get a 25 tier instant unlock for season 1's battle pass. And I feel like that's more than generous for what they're pricing it at, because because for one, they're doing battle pass seasons, and if most people who do play free-to-play games know, seasons last anywhere from, it could be anywhere from a month up to 3 to 4 months. So they very well might have a lot of cosmetics and a lot of things planned for these battle passes. And if you're pre-ordering the game, if you get standard, you get the entire first season without having to pay a dime. And if you get deluxe, you get the first 2 seasons without having to pay an extra. I've also seen a lot of people going around and saying that there's probably going to be a lot of microtransactions, which is true. When it comes to multiplayer focused games, there will be microtransactions for cosmetics and different other things. But I feel like I've seen some people, but I've also seen some people try to write off there will be seasonal events and game modes locked behind these microtransactions, behind this paywall. And that's not true. The only thing that will cost you aside from microtransactions and the battle pass is buying the game. That's it. I don't get the idea of making it seem like it's a bad thing to pay to play this game. Again, they could have been greedy and said, hey, all right, base price 60, deluxe price. They could have very easily turned this around. I feel like it's affordable. I feel like it's a decent price, and it's definitely catering towards the newer fans of the Crash Bandicoot series. And while there isn't a single player mode specifically made for this game, in a Q&A, Daniel, developer or someone from Toys for Bob in that meeting, according to CGE, said that in the future that they are working on all sorts of interesting modes that they are making, and that there won't be a single player mode at launch, meaning that there could possibly be a single player mode sometime in the near future. The way I look at this is they're taking what they did with Crash Team Nitro Fueled and working backwards. See, when Crash Team Nitro Fueled first launched, they had both single player and multiplayer available to those who wanted to play it, but the big thing was that the multiplayer had some issues. The multiplayer had connection issues. The multiplayer had long loading times in the lobbies. It was hard to find matches. It was even hard to play with friends if you played on like the Nintendo Switch version. What this is telling me is that they have put sole focus into multiplayer for this game to make sure that this is a competent multiplayer game with no issues whatsoever when it comes to playing the game, finding a match, loading into a lobby, and selecting your characters and just having fun. Now, this ties into the closed alpha because I know a lot of people are concerned that the closed alpha only lasts 5 days, but because they have been solely putting the focus of this game towards multiplayer online and not really focusing on any solo or single player content, that means that these things that they're testing with the closed alpha are like really small changes that can be done within 1 or 2 months, and really small things that they want to test out and make sure work properly when doing online connections, especially when it comes to crossplay, because crossplay will be enabled. You'll be able to play with people on PlayStation, you'll be able to play with people on Xbox. They want to make sure that they crush as many bugs as possible, last minute bugs, last minute things that could possibly ruin the experience for people playing online. And while it still doesn't sound like a lot of time, it's more than enough, because according again to what CGE mentioned in his info video, as of right now, when playing matches, it takes 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even longer, to complete a match, but there is no time limit for the match. So this closed alpha is going to help them see whether or not they need to put a time limit in matches, or if it's perfectly fine to play a game and get it done within the exact same time frame of 5 to 10 minutes. Just this is on a larger scale. The Crash Team Rumble looks like it's a very promising multiplayer game. It's something new, it's something to approach cautiously, and it's something to be optimistic about. I feel like there's just a lot of hate going towards Crash Team Rumble, and I feel like people need to simmer down a little bit and just let Crash Team Rumble do what it needs to do. We've seen this happen multiple times with multiple different things, even things outside of the Crash Bandicoot franchise that I could compare it to, because this is a new experience for Crash. People are scared. I get it. Something more close to what happened with Crash Bandicoot is the microtransactions being added in later on in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. I remember when microtransactions were announced for Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, because I was one of the many people who were scared that this was going to ruin the game in some kind of capacity. But after the microtransactions came in, no one really talked about it because it didn't do anything more than just add a way for people to pay for more cosmetics if they wanted to. If you didn't want to unlock everything in the shop with the microtransactions, you didn't have to. If you played the game daily, you were able to gain enough Wumpa coins through playing the game just daily to unlock everything in the shop. Everyone thought that the microtransactions were going to make it easier for people to just pay the win. They thought that they were going to give paying players an advantage over them. They thought that microtransactions were going to completely change the landscape of Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. And when it came out, it did absolutely nothing. So going forward, I just ask that people be open-minded. If you don't want to buy the game, you don't have to buy the game. But please don't give people who are genuinely excited and genuinely want to play the game a hard time. That's it. I respect your opinion. I hope you respect mine, but that's all Crash Team Rumble is. It's just it's a multiplayer game with the possibility of single player stuff coming in the future. They seem really excited about this. They really seem like they want to show it off to people, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for Crash Team Rumble. I've already pre-ordered it, and I can't wait for the closed alpha. I will be streaming it, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Crash Team Rumble is a bit of a mess right now, but I really don't think it's going to be as bad as everyone else is saying. Just give it some time, let it cook, and let's just find out together what happens. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's okay to be wrong. Crash Team Rumble looks really fun. Love you, toys. Bye-bye.